right, good morning. We're going to get started today. I want you to title your notes Friday, November 5th or 11/5. Today, grades are due. So if you have any questions about your grade, please email me. Go to Gmail, your Gmail, type in my last name. It'll populate my email. Please let me know your name and what period you're in, and tell me specifically which grade you have a question about. Um, Otherwise, grades are going to be updated over the weekend. I did get the Unit 2 test and the quiz that we took right before the Unit 2 test. That was the last week that I was in class. Those are not going to be included with your progress report. Um, those are going to go on your final semester grade. Let's see. Yeah, no, okay. Like I said, if there's any questions, please email me. So let's get started. All right, so we're going to be talking about buying on credit using credit cards, right? So credit card is basically a company will offer you a piece of plastic saying, hey, you can take this item, whatever it is, like a TV, computer, whatever, and you can take it home and not pay any they'll charge you interest. But this company here, you can see the description here saying that the company sells audio, video, computer, and entertainment products. The store offers 0% interest for 12 months on the purchases made using an Electric Avenue store credit card. Right, so if you use their credit card in their store, they're not going to charge you any interest. So that's kind of like the trade-off, right? You get the item right away, you don't have to pay any money at that moment, but you will have to charge more, you'll have to pay more in the long run if you don't pay it back. So that's the kind of the trade-off with credit cards. But Emily purchases a television for $480 using the Electric Avenue store credit card. Suppose she pays the minimum monthly payment of $20 each month for the first 12 months. We're going to start by completing a table of values for the first 6 months after the purchase, then plot those values on a graph. Okay? And we're going to use this graph here. I want you to copy this graph and fill those out, right? So like if we are on 0 month, right, we haven't paid anything. So we're going to start with $480, right? And you're paying $20 a month. So go ahead and fill in the chart now in your notes. All right. So at this point, you should have already filled it in. So we started with $480. After that first month, we paid $20. So we're going to subtract. That's how much we owe. We're subtracting $20. So we're going to be at $460. So now we owe the company $460 because we've already made $20 in payment. And then we're going to make another payment after the second month. We're now at 460 minus 20. This would be 0, 4. So we're at 440. Okay. And again, the third month we paid $20. So we'll be at 420. Then we'll have 400. If we subtract another 20, subtract another 20, we're at 380. And 360 is the last one. Okay. All right, and then I think they want us to plot those values in a graph. All right, so we're going to make a really quick graph. So I'm going to go ahead and draw, let's say, y-axis, there's my x-axis. So my height is 480. So I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to go 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to call this 500. So we're starting at 0. My 500 is going to be like right here. And we're going along the x-axis is going to be the number of months. So let's go and label it. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we have the number of monthly payments. My handwriting's really sloppy, sorry. Payments. And then we have our account balance. Okay. All right. I'm just going to plot these points, right? So then at 1, go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Let's fix this. This is not quite to scale. I'm going to make this look a little bit better. Extend that out just a little bit and go 6. Okay. So then after 1 month, we're at 460. So we're just above 450. So it's something like that. And then 2 is going to be 440. So it'll be close to like that. Be 420. 400, just under 400, and 360. If we draw our graph is going to look something like this. Perfect. So make sure you have that in your notes. All right, so will Emily pay off the balance within 12 months? How do you know? All right, so we only got 6 months, but if we go for another 6 months, how much money do you think we're going to have? Will she have, sorry, how much do we still owe, if we owe anything at all? All right, so in 6 months, we paid off, we were at 360, so we paid off $120, right? We can see 20 plus 20 plus, we have 20 plus 20 plus 20, that's 60, 80, 100, 120. So if we go another 6 months, that's going to be another 120. So in total, we're going to be paying off $240. That's not quite enough. We're going to still owe quite a bit of money. Remember, we started with 480, and we paid off 240. So we're going to say no. Emily owes 240, and I just continued the pattern. If I had to show my work, we can talk about like, hey, I continued the pattern that we see. Right. So if you know Emily's account balance now, how can you calculate the next account balance after each monthly payment, right? So go ahead and pause right here, try and write a now next rule for Emily here. So remember, we always start with next. Remember, we're trying to find the next number, and we're trying to, what do we do to the number right now? Right, so again, right, what are we doing as we went on the table, right? We can see our change was minus 20. So we're doing 20 now minus 20, and we have to write starting at. We started at 480. So if I were to ask you to write a now next rule for on the quiz or on a test, this is what you would write. All right. So we have some functions here. All right, which of the function rules gives Emily's account balance E after M monthly payments have been made? All right, so we have our next now rule here. We want to translate into that into an actual rule going forward, right? So remember, the number by itself, that's going to be kind of our starting point. So notice how we want a starting point of $480. So let's look through this, right? So it's got to be a positive 480, right? So with rule 1, see how this is saying a negative 180. So we know it's not going to be rule 1, so we can cross that one out. Rule 2, we have positive 480, so that's possibility. Rule 3, going down, going 1, 3, and 5. Yeah, these are positive, right? So here, the number by itself is negative 20, right? That's how much we're decreasing by. That's not our starting amount, so we can cross out rule 2. Again, with rule 3, we have 480. So we have some possibilities here. So the next thing we're going to look at is the number that was next to our variable is going to tell us like how much we're changing by, right? So it's got to be a negative 20, right? It's going to be this number right here. So we're looking for negative 20 times M in this case, right? So if we look here, notice how in rule 4, we'd have a positive 20. So this would be our table would go up in values, right? It'd be going up. This would end up being 500, 520. So it's not rule 4. So it's either one of these. And if you notice, these are the same rule, right? You can see 400 minus 20, or we can say negative 20 plus 400. Those are the same thing. We're just flipping it. So it could be either one of these. So we can say rule 3 and 4. Okay. All right. Determine the rate of change, including units in the account balance for between 0 to 2, as the number of monthly payments increase from 0 to 2, 2 to 3, and 3 to 6. Remember, rate of change. Remember, we're talking about how much. If I go back to my table here, we're going from 0 to 2, 2 to 3, and then I want to say 3 to 6. All right. So from here to here, right? So we're looking for a rate of change for all of these, right? So if I'm increasing by 2 here, let's do this in green. I'm increasing by 2, I'm decreasing by 40. So that's like saying, so remember the bottom number goes on top, my dependent goes on top, my independent goes on bottom. We increase by 2. If I simplify this, negative 40 divided by 2 is going to be negative 20. And then between 2 and 3, let's go and look at between 2 and 3, we increase by 1 on top and decrease by 20 on bottom. So we write our equation here. Where is it? It's going to be negative 20 divided by 1, or just negative 20. And then the last one, we're going from 3 to 6. So we're increasing by 3, and we are decreasing by, we're at 420, we're going to end at 360, so we're subtracting 60. So negative 60 divided by 3 equals negative 20. So notice how they're all the same, right? So how does the rate of change affect the fact that the account balance decreases as the number of monthly payments increases, right? So our rate of change is going to be decreasing. How can the rate of change be seen in the graph from part A and the function rules you selected in part C? So how can the rate of change, right? So yeah, so see how it's all the same rate of change? So it's linear. Again, right, we said, hey, it could be either negative 20 or, wait, that's not part C. Yeah, so see, negative 20 is going to be the number right next to my now. Right, that's our rate of change here. Okay, so let's go, and what I want you to do, oh, whoops, one more problem here. How can the starting account balance be seen in table part A in the graph in the function rule you selected for part D, right? And, oh, sorry, in our rules. So how does a starting account balance, right? So we talked about the rate of change. Now we're going to put in our starting amount. You can see in my rules, hey, we have, it's the number by itself. And if you look in my graph, it's going to be my starting number here. This was our 480 right here, right? So it's going to be when we're at 0, where our starting point is. That's another way to think about it. Okay. That's number 4. Number 5, right? So the diagram below shows graphs of account balances functions for 3 Electric Avenue customers, right? So we have Emily, Daryl, and Felicia. We already figured out the equation for Emily. So remember, they're starting at 480. If you look at this, we can compare Emily and Daryl and Felicia, right? We can look at our starting amounts for each of these, right? We have Emily's 480 and Daryl is 480. So these two are going to be starting at the same place. So we can say, hey, if I'm trying to match these with the graph here, so we're going to match each function rule with its graph. Explain how you can, I'm pulling it from right here. I'm looking at letter A right now. Explain how you could make the matches without. So I'm already jumping right into the problem. So you see how they have the same starting amount. They have the same starting amount right here. So Daryl and Emily are going to be either 1 or 2. We do know that this 360 is less than 480, so Felicia is going to be line 3. So it's going to write that down. So we know that this one, Felicia, is going to be 3, because it's the only one with a starting value less than the other two. So we need to look at our rate of change between Emily and Daryl and figure out which one goes with which one. So if Emily is decreasing by 20, but Daryl is decreasing by 40, right? So it's decreasing. Daryl's paying much more. He's paying $40 a month versus 20 with Emily. So his line is going to be steeper. So Daryl is going to be line 2. So let me go and highlight this. Daryl, see how like this negative 40? This tells me it's going to be this one right here. Because see how it's steeper? So we're going to write 2 for Daryl. And Emily is going to be 1. You can see that right there with the negative 20. Okay. What do the numbers in each rule of Daryl's and Felicia's account balance tell you about the values of their purchases and their monthly values, right? So Daryl, right, remember our starting value. This is saying with Daryl, we said it was the blue. It's going to have the same starting value. Like he paid $480 just like Emily, right? Because our starting values are the same. But he's paying $20 more than Emily, right? He's paying $40 a month. That's why his line is going down steeper. And Felicia, she only paid Shirley bought something that was $360, right? That's why Felicia's number is starting out lower, but she's paying the same amount as Daryl per month. So that's why they look like they're going at the same rate, right? They look like parallel lines. Okay. All right, so what we've been talking about is something called slope, right? So there's a lot of information there. If you want some more, like if you want to read a lot of in-depth information, but if you want to just write the TLDR, this is what you got to write down. Our rate of change or our slope, right? So our rate of change or our slope is going to be the change in y over the change in x, or delta y over delta x, or y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. And we typically denote slope with the letter m, right? So you'll see it written like this. We have y equals, this is the equation I want you to write down, y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. Or another way to think about it is we have rise over run, right? It's because it's going to be how much we rise, go up and down, how much we go left and right. So I'm going to write that down. All right, last one. We're going to draw a graph for each function on a separate set of coordinate axes, and then analyze each function rule and its graph as described below. All right, so I'm going to do it all in one. But we're going to start with each one, and I'm going to give them different colors, right? So letter A is going to be, we're going to use black for letter A, right? So we have, remember the number by itself is going to be where we start at. That's our starting point. So here we're starting at 1, and the slope here is 2/3, right? So remember, rise over run, right? We're going back to our phrase here, rise over run. So that this is going to tell us how much we rise. This is going to be our run. So if I start at 1, I'm going up 1, 2, to the right 1, 2, 3. So my line, and I can go up 1, 2, and 1, 2, 3. And up 1, 2, and to the right 1, 2, 3. And then can't go any more that way, but I can go left now, right? So remember, a negative divided by a negative is a positive. This is why it's a negative divided by a negative is a positive, right? I can also go down 1, 2, and to the left 1, 2, 3. And down 1, 2. To the left 1, 2, 3, and down 1, 2, and left 1, 2, 3. We're going to go ahead and draw that line now. And this is letter A. Okay. All right. So let's do letter B now. Right. B is going to be in red. Okay. So notice how there isn't a number that's all by itself. That means our y-intercept is going to be 0, because if we do 2x plus 0. That 0 goes away. We don't need it, right? Y equals, it's like these are saying the same thing. So my y-intercept, or my starting point, is at 0, and my slope, again, right, when our slope is going to be 2, I have a 1 under there, right? So my slope is going to be 2 over 1. That means I have to go up 1, 2, and to the right 1. And I'm going up 1, 2, and to the right 1. And then I can also go down 2, 1, 2, and to the left 1. And I can start to draw a line here. This is going to be B. All right, let's do blue now. We're going to use blue for 2x minus 3. So if we're remembering our last example, the 2x, we should have a pretty similar slope. Our line should look pretty similar to this, just lower down, because this is saying minus 3. So I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3. My slope is going to match this. So we're going to go up 1, 2, and to the right 1. I can go all the way, I can keep going if I want. I can also go down here, so down 1, 2, and to the left 1. So it's going to draw that line. And this is going to be C. All right, and here, our last one is going to be, let's do this in green. Right, so our green line here, our number by itself is 2. And you notice our slope now is negative 1/2. So that negative can either go to the top or the bottom number, right? So I'm going to treat it like it's going with the top first, right? So that means I'm going down, my rise is 1, -1, and then my run is 2. Then my rise is 1, -1, and my run is 2. So my line is going to look something like this. All right, so if my negative goes to the bottom number, that means I'm going up 1 and to the left 2. Keep going. And my line is going to look something like this. Okay. All right. So make sure you copy those in your notes. Yep. We're going to call it there for today. I have one more example. We'll start with the next example tomorrow. Okay. Make sure you have this in your notes. Have a great day. We'll probably take our first quiz possibly at the end of next week. If not, it'll be the week after. This is going to be our lesson 1 quiz coming up pretty quick. Okay. Have a great day. If you have any questions for me, please send me an email. Oh, before I forget, you do have some extra homework. Make sure you go to Delta Math. It'll be right there for you, right? So we're graphing points and working on those there. Okay. All right. Well, have a good night. See you later.